Miami Chiefs have selected George Karlaftis. Big George! Here we go!
I am so beyond excited that Josh Simmons getting a crack at left tackle.
It's really hard to win the AFC Championship.
Is it?
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network, a day one supporter of KC Sports Network. Any banking needs you might have, Emprise has you covered.
How about that?
Much like Craig and I had Maddie Lane covered on Monday. Kent Swanson, Maddie Lane here on a Wednesday edition. Maddie, welcome back. How was your Monday off?
It was pretty good. We had a lot of vacation planned. We have a lot of vacation planned this year. We were supposed to be going skiing and snow tubing. Turns out West Virginia was under some kind of like winter storm. So it ended up being like 3 degrees there. Decided the kids probably weren't going to love that outside. So we had to audible last second, but we made it work. They still got to go have some fun somewhere that was not, sub-freezing temperatures. So, we had a good time. I'm glad you guys held it down, Ken. I am very happy that you guys did, I'm sure, an excellent job on the lab on Monday without me.
It was good to just have Craig to myself for a good hour.
Sure.
It was awesome. He made the comment, like, very rarely does it get to be me and Craig on a show anymore. Just us
True.
two. He's normally just kind of filling in the gaps when I go off and go vacation, like I am next week. I'm peeling back the curtain a little bit here. Maddie, there's several times in the last 2 years that you have said that you've said that your wife and I are like the same people.
Oh, 100%.
And I was, because I think it's just personality types. Like if our Enneagrams,
Sure.
If we did the Enneagram test, it'd be the same. I don't know exactly, but I'm going to flip the script on you a little bit. You remind me of my little brother very much. And it's not just the fact that you are in your mid-30s like my brother is, because you're not 29. Don't let
Give or
anybody,
take 5 years.
It's been...
No,
it's
I'm
been
30.
Too
Give or
long.
take 5.
Okay. But you told us last week you were going to be off, so you gave us like a short amount of time of notice. But that's not really what that made me think of you like what my brother is. It's that you shared with us on Monday as it was happening that you were on a ski trip or heading for a ski trip or deciding to be on a ski trip. I don't understand how you don't I'm an oversharer. The second I found out I was going vacation, I was like, man, guys, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to go on vacation. This is when I'm going. And you're just like, oh, by the way, I'm on a ski trip this weekend or this week. You don't share anything.
Yeah. Is this how you? I'm assuming this is how your younger brother is. That's just how we do. We don't plan things. We kind of fly by the seat of the pants. We let you, when we're doing KCS and stuff, or we let the boss at home plan things. Tell me where to go, where to be, what to do. I show up. I sell out my Instagram for some kind of game app that you can download, and I get money when you follow my link, and I put it on Instagram and stuff like that.
I don't know, man.
I'm good, bro. So this is great.
Yeah, it's okay. I got the gist of it. I think that was a Rishi Rice joke.
Back.
We are so close to Rishi coin. I think we're getting very close to him having to try to sell a meme coin at some point too here. Because he's halfway there. It's so funny because I'm just so polar opposite. I would tell you guys the second we booked a trip, I was like, guys, I'm really excited about this. And you're just like, oh, wait, by the way, I'll be out next week. And then you're like, oh yeah, we were going to go skiing. I was like, dude, I would be so hyped for you if you just let us in here, buddy. We're in a group chat that talks all day, every day. And I just think it's so funny that fact did not come up once. That's all.
Yeah, I really didn't. Got a lot of other trips coming up. I can't wait to tell you guys about them about 2 days into them. Once I'm already there, I'll try to let you guys know a week ahead of time when I'm not around for it. But we'll see. That's what we call that a long-term goal. That's a lofty goal. We probably don't hit that one. But at the very least, I will tell you while I'm on the trip what I'm doing. Maybe.
Craig and I were joking. We got a little sentimental during last week or Monday's episode. It was the perfect week to do that because you weren't there.
Oh goodness.
This is the shortest I've seen your hair, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty short. It can go shorter. I was really just trying to get it like buzzed off. We were just trying to go full buzz, but again, boss lady said no. So here we are. This is about as short as we can get it.
You are so close to going full Joe Brady there.
Let's go.
Like you are fringe Joe Brady like right now.
We need to, so we don't need hair to keep care. We don't need to keep track of any hair. Take it all off. Who cares?
You really haven't been very active the last couple of days in the group chat. How have you been able to, you think, to kind of catch up on all things NFL Combine to this point, or do you still feel pretty like in the dark?
I mean, realistically, nothing's happened yet. So I feel like I'm okay right now. The timing worked out well. I think workouts start tomorrow actually. So like right now I feel like I'm doing pretty good. I saw that, Ruben Bain did not get lined up, didn't get the haircut. So I know he's 100% about football and nothing else. And that's all I needed. I needed him to show up. His hair is looking like a mess like mine is right now. And like, that's all I needed to know from Ruben Bain to know that he probably should be the first player off the board.
It's February 25th. Do you think?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. This is coming from Draft Guide Manager. Yeah, I'm freaking out.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying this. Trying to get that group together to make sure that everyone stays on schedule is hilarious. Because we have one person that refuses to. It's actually not Maddie, but one person that is just gonna go rogue, and they'll get done when they get done. Anyways, February 25th here, speaking of Ruben Bain, do you think there's any chance that he's there at 9? How do you feel right now?
I mean, I think it's unlikely, but there's a chance still, right? Like, listen, I see that David Bailey's going to do all of the workouts. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be, the fact that he's doing them tells me that he thinks it's going to be impressive, or he wouldn't do it. But at the same time, I just don't think he's an athlete like that. And so we'll see. But like that gets you might get David Bailey test great, gets him off the board. Arvell Reese is probably going to test really good. I know he's doing edge and linebacker testing. So you get him off the board. That's 2 edges. I mean, is it a surefire that a third one is going to go in the top, 9 picks, especially Ruben Bain? I don't know. So I'd say it's unlikely, but I think there's a chance. I will say this. I think coming out of the combine, maybe it'll take a week or two, but you'll have everybody's got together. They've talked to their scout sources that actually got to sit down with Ruben Bain and stuff. I think you're going to start seeing him slide back up draft boards even without working out, whether that's because the arms come in a little bit longer than they expected. Maybe they get to 32 inches. Or it's just the fact that everybody starts to fall in love with quote unquote the person. And then they pretend like it's something that we haven't already known just because everyone got together and talks. Like, I think he's going to be a big riser post combine, not even necessarily for anything he gets to do out there in the workout. So right now I'm going to say it's unlikely, but give it a week or two and it might not be possible.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous that Bain's not going to be there. I think there's a pretty good chance that my intrusive thought is that we're not going to like the board at 9. That's my intrusive thought right now.
That's hard to do at pick 9, man. That's really hard to do at pick 9.
My intrusive thought is that my favorite option will be to trade back with the Rams so they can go get Ty Simpson.
I just think it's hard at pick 9 to not like it.
We'll see. I just think I think there's just like some of the players that we've all fallen in love with in Kansas City. I'm starting to wonder if any of them are going to be available. I think the board's starting to stack, and I think the reason we were all so excited about these players is because eventually I think the cream rises to the top and they wind up all being top 6 players in the draft. That's kind of where I'm in. We're all unfamiliar with this territory right now here, the Chiefs picking in the top 10. So it did feel very open-ended, after Fernando Mendoza. And I'm just wondering if the cream starts rising to the top and all those favorite names that you like for the Chiefs may not be there at 9. So that's what's just given me a little bit of pause here. But yeah, appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. Really, really means a lot. It always means a lot when you're supporting KC Sports Network. So thank you. It's not lost on us how much we're grateful for you supporting everything, listening, watching, and all that kind of stuff. Let's get into the show a little bit today, though. See, there was a sentimental moment there, too. Sorry, Maddie. I'm sorry for being sentimental on a show that you were on. But there's, Brett Veach made some comments at his presser on Tuesday talking a little bit about positional value and assessing some of those things. He talked about some of the top players in this class, perhaps the top 3 players in this class, maybe not having the highest positional value. By the way, he said Ohio State linebacker. Do you think he was talking about Arvell Reese, or do you think he was talking about Sonny Styles when he made the comment about the top players being the Ohio State safety, the Notre Dame running back, and the Ohio State linebacker? Was it Reese or was it Styles? What say you?
Styles, because he's a better player.
Woo.
And because he's an awful.
Yeah, I don't know how the Chiefs would view Reese is all. That's my only. I don't know how the Chiefs view him.
If they view David Bailey as an edge, they view Vel Reese as an edge. So
I didn't. And Tucker just corrected Vel. I didn't know Vel Reese was the new fad.
I don't think it's a fad. I think he said that's what he wants to be called, if I'm not mistaken. I think I heard that come across in one of his podium interviews.
So yeah, I think when Brett Veach also went on to make some commentary about how it might be harder to draft some of those high positional value players when you are or to sign those high positional value players, because very few of them actually hit the open market. They wind up staying with their team. They wind up signing these long-term extensions. And so I think just kind of listening to Brett kind of talk about that and that approach, right? I get what he's saying. Like, some of these best players in this class are undoubtedly, like, if you're looking at film grades, I think our 2 highest grades right now in the KCSN draft guide, which, by the way, available for pre-order. Link is in the description of the show.
Wow.
300 pages of Chiefs-specific draft content if you want it.
It's a lot of pages.
A lot of pages. And Maddie, every page he writes, he squeezes every ounce he can.
I use every single word I can and then some.
They're just we're putting text in the margins. Like, it's
he
everywhere.
said 450-ish. He gets 457 every single one.
Yeah, that checks out. I don't know what number I gave you last year either. I just know some of them you were getting close to 500.
Yeah.
When you look at like some of those comments, yes, the best players I think in the KCSN draft guide right now from a grade perspective are lower positional values, that if you're looking at how it relates to the franchise tag, what the rookie contract would be for some of these guys, there's not that much spread. But then when you look at edge, wide receiver, the gaps between the franchise tag and the deals that are happening right now relative to the draft slot are immense. Do you think the Chiefs are taking that into consideration here with their approach to off-season free agency in the draft? Maybe trying to sign lower positional value players to multi-year contracts like safety. Maybe it's a Brian Cook extension and a Travis Etienne deal. Or do you think that meant anything? How do you think the Chiefs are going to approach this when it's all said and done?
I think the Chiefs don't plan on picking this early very often. So I am starting to slowly but surely come around to the idea that it seems a little unlikely, or rather it opposes how they usually move, I guess, in free agency in the draft, to finally get a pick way earlier than they ever plan on picking again, and to use that on a non-premium position, or more specifically, using it on a position of lesser value. I could buy something that you were just going to consider normal, whether that's cornerback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, like positions that are just like they don't carry a connotation of overvalued or lesser valued or whatever it may be. But the safety, the running back, the linebacker aspect of it, the positions that we all generally tight end, the positions that we generally deem less valuable. Man, this is the only time they're going to be picking in the top 10 outright without trading up in over a decade. And they're going to spend that on a position that, one, guys hit free agency a lot more consistently than they do other positions. And two, they just don't have that same level of impact. You're not getting the same monetary value out of it. I'm starting to be swayed to the positional value argument even more, I think, than I was before. And I know Brett Veach got up there and said, you got to draft us the best player, the guy that's most likely to come in and perform. He then also came back around and said, but also these good positions don't make it to free agency. So you got to make a team, which indicates that they're looking at that. So he spoke out of both sides of his mouth.
Absolutely. Even talking about signing the position, the lower positional value spots in free agency, making that comment. Anyways, please continue.
Yeah. So I think I'm leaning more and more towards, I don't think they want to spend a top 10 pick on a lower valued position. Now, if things shake this way and they have to quote unquote take just the best player available by far that plays one of those positions, maybe they still do it. Maybe, like you said earlier, the board doesn't fall great, but they are still staring at Jeremiah Love at running back, or they are still staring at a Caleb Downs at safety. And they're like, well, he's clearly better than all of our other options. We lost all the edges we liked. We lost the defensive tackle, the offensive tackle, the wide receivers that we liked. They're all gone. Let's just take this best player. At that point, maybe, but I don't think they want to do that. I'm starting to really lean into they're gonna look to take a more premium position at this draft slot since they're never here before.
And I think I'm not talking about out both sides of my mouth when I say this, but I do think that some of these options for positional value could be off the table. I think there's a decent chance Caleb Downs gone. I think there's a decent chance that Jeremiah Love's gone before the Chiefs pick at 9. Now, Ruben Bain, I think those 3 players might be in the top 6. Like, I think there's a chance that those players wind up in the top 6. And then it's just a matter of like fit for some of these remaining players, like David Bailey being on the board. I hope that if the Chiefs don't like David Bailey, then what does that mean? What does that mean for their draft, for their draft strategy? But I do think there is some good news. I think there's a pretty good chance that not even a good chance. There will be a quality wide receiver, edge, defensive tackle, or cornerback available to the Kansas City Chiefs at pick 9. And you can get rid of DT if you want. If you want to just say cornerback, wide receiver, and edge. I think there will be one player that we all like available at pick 9. It's just a matter of if the Chiefs like him. It's a matter of if the Chiefs like him. But if you look, I think if you expand the pool to premium positions that are getting paid crazy money right now, cornerback, wide receiver, edge, I think if that's the pool that they have to play in to play the positional value game, it's not the end of the world either, because there should be, cornerbacks expanding it a little bit, but I think there's going to be at least one from a positional value perspective that makes sense at pick 9.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think it's going to be really hard to get to pick 9 and not have players that you feel good about as a fan or even as a team. It's just a matter of, do you get your favorite guy? Is your favorite guy available there? That's where I don't know. It's just, I think if the Chiefs are looking at it and, the Chiefs have their pick of the litter at pick 9, whatever, magically everybody's available at pick 9. Nobody turns in their card because of a power outage and everybody, slips on a banana peel and they can't turn their card in. Right. And we get to pick 9 and the Chiefs can pick anybody. I don't think they would take a running back or a safety or a linebacker over whoever they would have at the top of their edge spot, over the top of their wide receiver spot. Now, maybe those guys are gone though, right? There's no saying their wide receiver 1 or their edge 1, or if maybe they love a defensive tackle, or maybe they love one of these offensive tackles, right? Like if those guys are gone, then sure, maybe there's that chance that they go with that non-premium position too. As Brett Veach says, you get a good player that can step in and play, not even necessarily right away, but is going to kind of step in and play really well and be a contributor. I just think if push comes to shove and they have the choice between a guy that might do that at safety and a guy that might do that at defensive end, they're taking the defensive end 10 times out of 10. That's the vibe I get from how this team wants to operate. And I also think the fact that Veach goes out and says like, hey, we were doing maintenance for the last few years. Now we're rebuilding. You don't rebuild by adding safeties and running backs. That's not a rebuild move. That's a maintenance move. That's a move you make when you're coming off a Super Bowl win and you want to get a running back that you think can play all 3 downs because you want to just take that off your head coach's plate. Didn't work out with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but that's when you make a move like that. I don't think you make that move when you yourself are saying we're kind of rebuilding right now. That's not the right time to go with the lower positional value, in my opinion. So, but we'll see what they do. It's just that's the vibe I get from them the more and more I think about how their off seasons have gone recently.
I think it would be really funny though, like because we could be
Banana peel thing.
Banana.
That'd be funny.
No.
Okay.
No.
How about continue?
No. That wasn't good.
I'm so glad Tuck doesn't have the soundboard to hit me with the womp womp right now.
Tucker says he got the joke. Maybe it went over my head. I think it could be funny a week and a half from now that we see that the Chiefs have extended Brian Cook and signed Travis Etienne, and then like that whole conversation just dies, you know? And if the Chiefs are intent on like those are easier deals to get done, easier long-term deals to get done, the Chiefs have a need at those positions for the next 3 seasons. Like we could very quickly be like, all right, they're probably not taking Caleb Downs and they're probably not taking Jeremiah Love. And now you're just actively rooting for those guys to fall off the board to give yourself a better chance at one of the other players that are available to you before or at pick 9. So, that could be the approach. That could have been a hint to the thought process. I think maybe the magnitude of pick 9 is. I'm not saying it ever was lost on them, but maybe the magnitude of 9 is there's more gravity to all of that than we're even looking on the outside looking in. They're saying we need to at least make this a premium position so we're getting significant surplus value because it's getting increasingly hard for us to find surplus value contractually with this football team. So we need a cheap, really good defensive end for the next 5 years. You know, like maybe that is the approach. I think I've just been cautiously waiting to see if they were going to show those kind of cards. And I think there is, I think there's a chance that there is a high positional value player that you feel pretty good about sitting there at pick 9. It just may not be some of those names that we've fallen in love with, you know, through the process over the last couple of months. I do feel like I'm more nervous that some of those guys are even going to be able to hit there. Anything else on this, Maddie?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I think that kind of covers the gist of it, right? We're all going to be, we're trying to squeeze out a ton of content out of Brett Veach getting one shortened media session because he hadn't talked to the media since the end of the year. He got out of there pretty quick.
Started it 15 minutes before he was supposed to.
We're all trying to get as much juice out of that one little talk that we can. And this is just the biggest thing that stuck out to me was just one, he spoke out of both sides of his mouth. But if I was just listening and keeping my ears open, I think the Chiefs are going to try to make some moves at running back, maybe even safety as well in free agency, so they don't have to go into the draft with those. And I think maybe that's why you got such the big, like, broad sell of, oh, wow, the running back and the safety rooms are both really, really good in this draft right before you get to free agency. I wouldn't put it past them to then make their free agency splashes at those positions in particular right after he says that. That seems a very Veach-like maneuver.
Nate Tice even making a comment. There's a lot of Travis Etienne to the Chiefs smoke today too. So, you know, those media circles out at the combine, man, there's stuff that gets out there a little earlier and there's just continued smoke around that one. And I don't think the Chiefs can afford to try to risk their running back situation for Jeremiah Love and whether or not he gets there to 9 anyway. So it makes sense that they would go and invest.
Okay.
In that position.
Here we go. Speaking of Travis Etienne, where are you on the scale from Jadeveon Clowney to the Chiefs to Sammy Watkins to the Chiefs on Travis Etienne being a Chiefs player this upcoming year?
What does that mean? I don't even
I was picking 2 players that were heavily linked to the Chiefs around combine time, and one of them happened, one of them didn't, but everybody, you know.
Okay.
Because everybody coming from the combine knew that Sammy Watkins was going to be a Chief, and everybody multiple times thought that Jadeveon Clowney was going to be a Chiefs. But I know that one really did pick up the year before they traded for Frank Clark.
I don't remember the Jadeveon one.
Honest. It was before they traded for Frank Clark. That was the one that was. I guess at that time it would have been a trade, not a signing. Like that was a big bubbly one too.
Yeah, I'm definitely more Sammy than I am Jadeveon then.
Okay. What about Patrick Peterson? Patrick Peterson to the Chiefs to Travis Etienne to the Chiefs. Where do you fall?
It's Sammy.
Okay. I'm so good at scales.
Yeah, you said scale, and I was like, okay, what kind of sandwich are we about to talk about?
The cheese sandwich.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
I'm Brett Goodwin, one of the owners of The Learning Tree. The Learning Tree is a neighborhood toy store in Prairie Village, Kansas. This has been here in this location since 2000s, and my husband Alan and I purchased the store in 2023. Alan and I grew up in families where we've always wanted to have a business together. Alan grew up, for instance, his parents had a jewelry store. I worked in a local toy store here in Prairie Village when I was growing up. When this opportunity happened in 2023, we knew right away we wanted to contact them and pursue the store. We wouldn't have been able to get the store without the team at Emprise Bank. From the day we contacted them, they knew what we needed to do, which was very helpful. I would absolutely recommend the team at Emprise Bank to anyone looking to secure a business. We worked with Emprise from day one. They were extremely helpful. They were always great resources. We talk to them frequently. They know the area. They're very friendly. We know who we're going to talk with, and they know what we need to do. We hope we'll see you at the Learning Tree.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on a Wednesday episode of the KC Laboratory. It is just Maddie and I today.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I need to stop looking at Tucker because he's laughing at. I don't know what he's laughing at. Maybe it's me. I gotta stop looking at Tucker. Maddie, you've been writing a really cool series over the last month-ish. I think it's been right out a month now.
It's gonna be a month, yeah.
And I think it's been a really insightful piece. And you heard Ben Johnson talking yesterday a little bit about the impact of Eric Bieniemy and what he thinks about him as a coach, and all of those things, getting rave reviews from Ben Johnson on the way out. That was a big thing for Eric Bieniemy, just in a lot of different ways. But I think the hope is that what he did in Chicago maybe translates over here a little bit in Kansas City and kind of helps introduce some new ideas. You wrote this article really exploring some of the things that, Eric Bieniemy might have taken away from Chicago. What were some of the high-level things that you just kind of noticed?
Yeah, so like you said, this has been something I've been working on for the past a month now. So tomorrow, check your KCSN newsletter. If you aren't subscribed, go to kcsn.com, subscribe to that newsletter, premium newsletter. You're getting Chiefs content, all over the place. But what I've been working on the past month is essentially just kind of been going through piece by piece on things that Eric Bieniemy and the Chicago Bears did last season, and how you can maybe integrate that into the Kansas City Chiefs offense without necessarily asking for wholesale changes. Because I don't think any of us believe wholesale changes are coming. They've kind of made it abundantly clear when you listen to the coaches or even Brett Veach talk, they think they need to tweak things, not necessarily change things. And so I was trying to figure out what Bieniemy might bring over. And so the first part, we kind of focused on, hey, Bieniemy's a running backs coach in Chicago. What did their running backs do compared to what the Chiefs did? Because both teams ran a lot of under center, outside zone, wide zone stuff. Why were the Bears better at it than the Chiefs, other than the blocking was better? Well, we found some stuff with the running backs, looking at footwork, aiming points. Okay, so then once we got that, what was the next step? What else did the Bears do in the run game? How did they block it up better? What schemes did they do? Why were the Bears among the league leaders in motion during or parry snap or right before the snap on their run plays, and the Chiefs were like second to last? Right, that's a big change. So are these things that Bieniemy can bring over from the Bears to the Chiefs to help improve the run game that don't necessarily alter the core of what Andy Reid's West Coast offense is? Last week, we talked about some like secondary or tertiary runs, building out the run menu is what I called it. So, hey, we're running outside zone a bunch from under center. Now, what's our second run from under center? Chiefs didn't really have one. They ran power occasionally, and that was about it. And it was very occasionally, whereas the Bears ran a lot of duo. They said, hey, what's the polar opposite of outside zone? Here's duo. We're going to run right at you. And now not only do you have to determine, is it a run or pass? Am I being attacked, or am I being stretched horizontally? And do I have to chase? And then tomorrow we're going to focus on play action, why the Bears were, better at it than the Chiefs were. So each one of those series kind of covers something different. As we work through the series, it goes from pretty concrete of, hey, have the running back aim at the right spot and use the proper footwork. And then it gets to a little bit more abstract. Like, I think the play action game that the Chiefs use is kind of bad. It's kind of really, it's awful. Let's just call it what it is. It's really, really bad. So maybe these things get changed and maybe they don't. But again, we can talk about as anything that piqued your interest there, Kent. But like, I just want to say, go read it. I do a lot better job explaining it in words, unless you guys want to sit here for the next 2 hours as I read it verbatim on a show.
I do not want to do that.
Fine.
At all. I do have one question for you.
Please save me from myself.
When you're looking at the run game and some of the things that Ben Johnson does and Eric Bieniemy's been able to learn over the last calendar year, do you think it requires the Chiefs to be more under center for all of this to work?
Yes. That's been the biggest key I came away from the end of this is the Chiefs got to get under center more. And so part of that too, it's a two pronged problem, right? The Chiefs want to marry their pass game and their run game together, and they don't really have much of a drop back game from under center. But guess what? Neither did the Bears, and the Bears found a way to do this, right? So it's not completely, it's something that can be done. However, the second issue, and this is where I think the bigger problem comes up, that means you got to sacrifice some RPOs. And that's the biggest thing is Andy Reid willing to sacrifice the RPOs? That is the biggest change I think Eric Bieniemy or whoever has to come in and change. The Chiefs don't need to be second in the NFL in total RPOs. That's just unnecessary. They're no longer like an advantageous play. And I get it. The Chiefs, like when you break it down, actually have been fine running it. They have not been unsuccessful, however you want to slice it. But the play itself is just, you're no longer putting defenders in conflict. Defenses have taken away the conflict read defender, so they're all leverage reads. And all that means is we're running a bubble screen on this side, and then we're running the ball over here. Well, guess what? That takes my 3 receivers out of the blocking concept. They're just over there running their own thing. And sure, we can throw it out there. Maybe we hit a screen and it picks up 6 yards, or maybe we hand it off and we get 4 yards or whatever. But when you involve them in the run game, not only does it increase the chance for you to have a dynamic play because you're having players getting up to the second level, something the Bears did great. We highlighted in the series, but you're also setting up play action now. Because you can't really set play action up off a bubble or RPO bubble out here, right? But if we actually show you a hard play action and they're used to seeing your wide receiver try to come up and dig out a safety, and now all of a sudden he continues and runs across the formation, you have a route built off of the run game that the Chiefs don't currently have because they ran the second most RPOs. I think they ran like 140 some RPOs last year. That's 140 plays where you had either the offensive line was blocking for a run and not participating and getting to the second level for a wide receiver screen, or you had 2 to 3 players not partaking at all in the run play because they're running their own action off to the side. And at no point in time are you reading a conflict defender. You're not making anyone wrong. You're just reading out leverage. So yes, get under center. I think the big part is you have to get over the RPO hurdle, and Andy Reid has to quit relying on that as a crutch for cheap yards.
So if they don't go under center more, what are the things that Eric Bieniemy can take from Ben Johnson and bring it into Kansas City truly?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little tricky because a lot of what the Bears did really well was get under center. I do think the big thing that stands out to me, the Chiefs, no matter what it's going to be, their main run is going to be some form of outside zone. If it's under center, it's outside, or shotgun, it's outside zone. If you're under center, it's going to be wide zone. I like wide zone better. The Chiefs leaned more on wide zone than outside zone last year. They ran that when they ran outside zone concepts, it was from under center more than it was out of shotgun. It's your secondary runs. You got to find something else out of shotgun, though, that's going to pair with that, or you're going to have to find 2 runs out of shotgun that work together. You can't be only an inside zone or RPO team out of shotgun. You got to find 2 different runs at least to run from shotgun to keep teams guessing. That's where I do think it gets trickier. I don't know if the Chiefs don't trend more under center if there's a whole lot of fixing this run game. I don't think that you can. I don't think you're going to have a dominant run game in today's NFL without getting under center. I just don't think it's going to work that way. You're too limited in what you can do, especially if you have, and this is no offense to Travis Kelce, who's been great for the Chiefs, but when your tight end 1's Travis Kelce and your tight end 2 is Noah Gray, you are also removing the ability for those guys to be dominant run blockers and on the line of scrimmage. And now you have completely reduced a shotgun run menu to inside zone. That's a bet, or outside zone. That's all you have. Those are your only 2 options. And there's enough crossover there that I think defenses are doing a really good job of teeing off on those, filling from deep. So I think Bieniemy just has to fight tooth and nail. He has to come in there, put two heels down, 2 toes down, 10 toes down, and be like, hey guys, we're going under center. We got to do it. We have to go under center more.
2 toes down would not be enough.
It's going to be 2 heels, and I wanted to go with toe. I got to get off the heels. We're a running back. We got to be up on our toes. We got to be ready. Can't be on our heels. We're not a DB.
So you're about to get into the play action game and the atrocities of the Chiefs play action game. This is going to be a weird question.
Okay, got my notebook ready now.
So let's say the Chiefs do actually get under center a little bit more with their run game.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that they really try to steal from Ben Johnson is the under center run stuff, and not truly a lot of the play action concepts.
So here's the big thing. Okay, if you steal under center run stuff from Ben Johnson, and that includes running duo or power, it doesn't really matter what your other runs are. If you find a way to get a downhill run to really mesh with your outside zone stuff, right? You find something downhill, you can then run your play action off that. So here's an issue the Chiefs have got into, and a lot of teams have with play action right now. If you only run play action off of outside zone, guess what? You're moving the line of scrimmage every play. Your quarterback is no longer set up behind the center. You're set up behind your backside guard, your backside tackle, and now you have to have a plan for that defensive end on that side, whether that means you're using tight ends to block him, whether that means that you're chipping him and just trying to roll outside of him. You got to have a plan to account for that backside defensive end. And these defenses, because of Kyle Shanahan's coaching tree has been so vast now, it's over a third of the league, they're used to it. They've seen this kind of play action game a ton. That defensive end's not getting fooled as much anymore. So you're seeing a lot of incidents where you come play action off these outside zone stuff and the defensive end's not accounted for. Or if you're the Chiefs, you use 2 tight ends to block them, and now you have a 2-man route. And that's it. You have Tyquan Thornton running a deep post, and you have Travis Kelce trying to run some kind of spot route over the ball into like 4 linebackers that are also flowing the same direct, or like are flowing into his route, and it doesn't get open. Whereas, so if you're going to steal some of Ben Johnson's run game, and you're going to run duo now, you can run play action off duo, and guess what? You move. You no longer have to come up with a unique way to account for the backside defensive end. You still have a tackle that is going to be over there. You are now setting up your quarterback behind the center with a balanced offensive line. Your guys can help all across the board. You don't need to use receivers to block a 4-man pass rush anymore. And now you get more guys out on a route, and you don't have to run them directly into the help defender. So I don't know if you're going to steal some of the under center run game, by proxy, you should be bringing the play action game with it. It would make no sense to bring one or the other because they kind of belong hand in hand. It's just the Chiefs need to do that. I don't know. The Chiefs went from like perennially top 5 in yards per pass play and EPA per play off of pass out of play action from 2018 to 2022. And since then, they've been middle of the pack in the NFL. They just cannot find rhythm in the play action game whatsoever.
Yeah, middle field closed, Tyreek Hill. I think that answers a lot of it.
No, it does. And like people, the first I think people are going to go to is, that was Eric Bieniemy. Yes, but also you now had teams transition away from playing essentially cover 3 the majority of the time, and now they're in these 2 high looks. They're rotating with it, and I really do think, again, like the pass rush has really understood the zone, like play action stuff now, right? You can't run these, play action rollouts anymore. How often last year did we see Mahomes try to roll out off play action and immediately have someone coming to pressure him? And if he wasn't, go watch. It's Noah Gray and somebody else trying to block a defensive end. So you're now having to waste 2 potential receivers to block. Danielle Hunter in the Texans game is a very good example that I include in there. They're now using 2 tight ends to block a defensive end. And guess what? The safety that was supposed to cover one of those guys blitzes late and has a free path to Mahomes because he's coming backside where no offensive linemen are, and he no longer has a coverage responsibility. So the rules for zone play action stuff has kind of been figured out by defenses right now. So this all ties back into the run game, because if you get under center, run the ball downhill, let your offensive line do a little bit of the work, and then you want to come play action off of it, you have more answers right now in the modern NFL from running play action a duo or off of power. That's fine too, pulling a guard and having him come pick up the defensive end. You just have more answers if you widen your run game from under center and don't just run outside zone all the time.
I think the concern for me would be that's a lot of change. That's asking a lot of Andy Reid to change
it is.
your entire run scheme and your entire play pass scheme. So
but I have a solution. But I had the solution. I already talked about it. Get rid of the RPO. Right? Like, and I know that's asking a lot. And I said that's the biggest thing we have to ask, right? Chiefs, I was wrong earlier. It's 188 RPOs last year. Just cut those in half, keep half of those, and those other 90-some plays, you can divvy up into some kind of legitimate, true downhill run and or play action, and you'll get better results. You will fix some of these issues. I understand I'm still asking a lot. This is why I saved play action to part 4. This is why I saved, making the run menu more versatile by including these power runs to part 3. I started with the most concrete, the most likely to happen, which is better running back play, more motion leading into blocks. Maybe we don't have our tight ends make weird arc releases around defensive ends and make the job harder for our offensive tackles, right? Like, I started with the more concrete things and got a little bit more abstract as we went, but there's 188 plays that are RPOs right now. That's a lot. That's not necessary. You can divvy those up in other ways, and then you can find places to change stuff without having to really change the rest of the pass game. But I do concede that is asking a lot out of Andy Reid.
It's a lot. It's asking a lot for him to completely change his run game and his play pass. That's like a big chunk of the call sheet right there. It's like, you know what? Just execution. It's just execution, guys. That's all it is. I don't know. That's a big undertaking this offseason, I think. Who will be blocking those run plays over at the right tackle spot is a big question. There still seems to be a little bit of a mystery around the Chiefs' approach to what they're going to do over at the right tackle position. It's been largely assumed that the Chiefs are going to be cutting Jawan Taylor and saving the $20 million that they can get from making that move, and would put them not only cap compliant at this point, but also over or under the cap pretty significantly, to a point where they have some flexibility to make some moves. I think Brett Veach made some comments talking about, how they have a lot of flexibility with some of the contracts that they have. Plus they've got Drew, and Jawan. Didn't seem like it was definitive that this team was going to be moving on from Jawan Taylor. I would still consider that probably the betting favorite, but I'm not convinced that Jawan Taylor is out the door. Maybe they would look to do some kind of extension with him, or at minimum, maybe if it is out the door, maybe they could actually trade him. These are some of the things that are going through my head right now with the right tackle spot. Maybe there are more avenues to making this thing work than we've been thinking about, Maddie. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought Veach definitely left the door open for Jawan Taylor more than I would have expected because of how much money you can save. And not because I think Jawan Taylor is a bad player. I think he's actually very good. It's part of why, I think I've heard people talk about extending him. And I think that's hard because you're going to have to pay him more than what you just paid him this last time. You're going to have to pay him over 20 million, average per year if you extend him going forward. I understand you can save money this year, but he's not going to be cheap is essentially my stance on this. So I thought for certain they were most likely to cut him, but listening to Brett Veach talk, he did try to leave that open-ended a little bit more than I thought he would. And maybe this is just to garner some trade value to see if somebody wants to part with a late, a day 3 pick of some kind to get a very quality starting right tackle. Maybe it is because they don't trust Jalen Moore at right tackle. And they want to keep Jawan Taylor long-term. So they have that solidified. Maybe, and I don't like this one, but we're going to combine some offensive tackle rumors in general. The Chiefs have also been, by Jason Lockenfor, linked to Rasheed Walker interest. We've heard, seen Caden Proctor be mocked to the Chiefs at pick 9. Those are left tackles. Maybe there's some uncertainty about Josh Simmons. I'm not saying there is for sure. There's been a lot of tackle speculation from right tackles and left tackles right now from the Chiefs, and it's making me a little bit more uneasy than I thought it would.
I am having a hard time buying too much into the tackle conversation right now. Just because I think a lot of people, Jawan Taylor's name is thrown out so much as a cut candidate, as a logical cut candidate. He's gone. He's treated like a pariah because of, Chris Collinsworth. And I think people just logically don't pay attention to the fact that the Chiefs have a clear-cut, obvious replacement on the roster already for him, which is why it makes a lot more sense to cut him if they are going to do so, right? I think I think until the national media is attuned to that, like I'm gonna give them a little bit of pass on some of that, because I do think that's the leap that some people make when they're trying to put together a 32 team mock. But I would be remiss if I would, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous that there is so much buzz around the Chiefs taking a tackle still. So I think, I don't know if I'm like all the way in on expecting the Chiefs to be making something. The Rasheed Walker thing makes zero sense.
Anything involving a left tackle makes zero sense. Here's my stance. If the Chiefs are in fact hunting for a left tackle, for whatever the reason is, Brett Veach should be fired. You shouldn't be giving up on a first-round left tackle after year one. If you get to the point where you no longer have any trust in Josh Simmons, your scouting staff's got to go, because now that you have now gotten enough misses of high-valued prospects and players that haven't worked out on your offensive line. Whoever's involved in getting your offensive lineman to your team, if Josh Simmons is no longer part of the plan, you got to turn stuff over. You've too many misses now. I don't believe that to be the case, which is why I don't believe the Proctor stuff. I'm not really buying the Rasheed Walker thing. I just will say, like, right now, I'm brushing off anything that has to do with left tackle. But if it happens, I don't know how you go back into that room and say, yeah, guys, we missed again, but it's okay. We got it this time. You've lost me at that point. So not believing the left tackle stuff. The right tackle stuff is more intriguing to me, because it does sound like they're on the look for a more long-term plan, I guess, at right tackle than I would have expected, because that usually means more investment. And they've invested a round 1 pick in left tackle, round 2 pick in left guard, highest paid center, one of the highest paid right guards. At some point, you just got to deal with what you got and get over. And it seems like they're more willing at least to talk about spending at right tackle. And that's crazy to me for a team that's never going to run the ball more than 36% of the time. And it's going to be all about the pass. They're just starting to spend a lot of assets on the offensive line when they have so many other holes. It's just been a little surprising.
Do you think it's still Jalen Moore?
I think so. I know some people go back and forth. I think it makes more sense to extend Jalen Moore than it does Juwan Taylor.
Ooh.
I don't think Jalen Moore makes more money than what he made, like on a per year basis, makes any more money than he made last offseason. I think if anything, it's probably settling in like, hey, guy, you're a fringe starter / swing tackle. You're right on that edge there. That's what you need for your 5th best starting offensive lineman, right? Your 5th best starting offensive lineman should be a fringe start. I mean, I'm sorry, that guy's going to be a fringe starter when you're paying highest paid OC money, one of the highest paid right guard money, spending high draft picks on the other 2 spots. You got to skimp by somewhere. So that 15 to 18 million per year on right tackle, completely acceptable to me. Extend them. Hey, maybe you can run the ball off the right side now because you don't have Juwan Taylor and Trey Smith together. I don't think Moore's like the perfect fit for the Chiefs offense, but I like his slower feet and his inability to get up the arc better off Patrick Mahomes' front side, like off Mahomes' right side, than I do off his blind side. I will say that.
When let's just go ahead and jump into the offensive tackle conversation in free agency. That's kind of where my head's going a little bit here, because I think there's so many things that when you're looking at the free agent tackle market, it ties back to this conversation here too when it comes to the Chiefs right tackle situation. I think Juwan Taylor is, if Juwan Taylor hits the market, you're right. Because I was questioning, I was going back and forth a little bit here with Juwan Taylor's going to get what? He's going to get how much? You think he's going to get more than the $20 million APY? And I'm going through this conversation. I'm thinking about, I'm going man, that doesn't pass the smell test. Rasheed Walker and Juwan. That's probably the top of this market.
And I don't think that's a competition. I think of those two, Juwan Taylor is a better player, and he plays right. Rasheed Walker, you maybe think can play left side, so maybe that does factor in still. But Juwan Taylor is going to be the premier offensive tackle available.
Let's get into the conversation here. If you look at we're previewing the tackle position, free agency. There's just not much there. There's the Cleveland Browns. I'll get there. This is a barren tackle tackle market. There's really not a ton of players. You're looking at Jonah Williams, who's been hurt. Cam Robinson, who's not been good. Rob Havenstein, he might have retired. Jack Conklin has been hurt. Braden Smith, he's 30 years old. Trey Pipkins is terrible.
Wasn't Braden Smith like half retired recently or something too? Like, wasn't he like away for a while?
I think it was up in the air. Trevor Penning, also bad at football. I'm going down this list and I'm looking to try to find the redeemable options at the tackle position. And there just really isn't very many players in this class, in the free agent class, that you're going to hand over a ton of money to and feel excited about them being a starter. So back to the Jawan Taylor conversation, the vagueness around Jawan Taylor. The Cleveland Browns do not have an offensive line right now.
No, they don't.
They have no starting offensive lineman here. Maybe there is a trade market for Jawan Taylor more than we ever thought there was. Maybe there legitimately is teams, when you're looking at the free agency class, you're looking at where Jawan Taylor would stack in this free agency class. Maybe there's a legitimate shot that the Cleveland Browns might just want to secure the services of Jawan Taylor for a draft pick. I'm not saying it would be a significant one, but that I actually think Jawan Taylor could operate in a Todd Monken offense well. Honestly, if we're like, I think that's actually a decent fit with some of the types of players that they've had at tackle in Baltimore. Maybe that is some of the caginess about the status of Jawan Taylor. Maybe it isn't just an obvious cut. Maybe there is legitimate value there to trade him.
Right. And like, that was kind of, I guess, like my final takeaway was like, okay, the Chiefs are talking about maybe being able, not having to get, it was never like, hey, we really want Jawan Taylor to be around long-term. It was maybe we have other moves so we don't have to pull that lever, was essentially the vibe. That's how it was presented. It was, we don't have to do that. To me, that says more of like, hey, if you want him, you can't just wait around for him. Come make us an offer. That was the feeling I got. That said, if the Chiefs find a way to extend Jawan Taylor and it financially makes sense, like, hey, have at it. He's a good right tackle, right? It seems financially irresponsible to continue to pay more for, again, a guy that you're anticipating being your fifth best offensive lineman. Maybe you're fourth best with Jawan Taylor. Maybe you do expect him to be better than Kingsley still, and then you just never pay that left guard spot. I don't know. Maybe that would be the avenue that you could possibly go. I could see it. It's just, I think it was more about setting up a trade market, getting value in the trade market for him. Maybe they sit around and wait and see what veterans are available. Like, I would love for this to be a year where they find a Donovan Smith-esque right tackle to come in and play. And that way you don't have to keep Jalen Moore. You don't have to keep Jawan Taylor. You get equal play to those guys, or, a little bit less than Taylor, about the same as Moore, from a veteran who's not planning on being a long-term solution, but he's cheap. I would love to go that route. Looking at the free agent right tackles, I don't see that guy. Right. So you're going to have to play Moore or Taylor this year. And if it comes to those two right now, I think Moore at his cap hit versus Taylor and the money, and cutting Taylor with that money he saves, is probably the smarter move to go.
David Chesko asked Brown's second round pick number 39 for Jawan Taylor. That's too rich. I think if you're looking at
sixth round pick,
the Cleveland Browns have 3 fifth round picks. I think you might be able to swing a 5th round pick for Jawan Taylor. You're not getting
their last one.
It's not that you're getting a huge return for him. It's that the Chiefs are probably intent on moving on from him, and they're trying to see if they can get something out of him. Because at this point, they could get cap compliant for the year without making the Jawan move, and then they wouldn't really have to make the Jawan move, I don't think, until they are putting pen to paper on the free agent contracts that they sign, and sometimes those take a week. So if you're getting into the league year, maybe there's one move, a lever they could pull to at least get cap compliant. And then when they actually need the cap space to finalize the 3-year deal for Travis Etienne, that's when you do it, if you haven't been able to materialize a trade market for him, right? Like, that's a card that they could hold, just delaying moving on from Jawan if they don't have to be, significantly over the cap the start of the league year. just they've got that $20 million lever they can pull to create $20 million in cap space, but they're going to pull it until they're going to hold on to it until the last second. That's the thought process on the leverage. It kind of does Juwan a little dirty, but maybe it doesn't really, because the market stinks so bad anyway. The tackle market's so bad anyway. Maybe it really doesn't matter for him.
No
right?
one's solving right tackle in free agency. Like nobody. Unless Jawan Taylor becomes available. Right. Like no one's gonna solve it. Right. So I think there's not too much of like a concern. It would be nice for him, obviously, to get to go through the whole dog and pony show while everybody still has money. Yes. But I think ultimately the same people that are going to have holes at right tackle on day one of free agency are going to have holes the day before free agency at right tackle.
Yeah. So
or day before the draft.
Yeah. I got what you meant. That's just an avenue I don't think we've spent a lot of time really considering. And it feels like it could be a possibility. Like maybe there's a legitimate.
Here's a question: Chiefs cut Jawan Taylor or trade him, whatever. They get rid of Jawan Taylor. He's no longer part of the picture. Jalen Moore isn't extended or anything like that. He's just got 1 year left on the deal. He's slated to start at right tackle. How early do you think the Chiefs should try to draft a right tackle in the draft?
I still probably wouldn't hold it in the priority list super high. So I still think there's just so many other positions that I think are bigger needs. Like I think there's always the short and long-term balance that they're going to try to play. But I just feel like a move at right tackle in round 3 is still pretty high for me, considering that could be one of the other positions that they need. I don't think I would make a significant investment with a 2026 pick at the tackle position if Jalen Moore's your starter. And I'm trying to look at it like, Max Ihenacho at pick 40, very good player, and probably a good fit for the Chiefs. But man, I think I'm probably just punting on drafting one altogether.
I think I'm with you. I talked about earlier. Like they've invested so much into the other 4 spots. You got to get by at one of them. Hey, it would have been nice for that to be an interior position, but guess what? That's not the case. That's not the cards that they set themselves up with. So you have to make do with one of your offensive line positions at this point, right? When you're going to pay a center and a guard this much, you're going to have to make do elsewhere. And unfortunately, because of the timing, that comes to right tackle. So I love Max Ihenacho. I think he's a phenomenal player. He's I think actually fighting to be my offensive tackle too in this entire class, because I really do like him. So if he's there at 40, that's not where I would target a right tackle whatsoever. If they took him there, would I be able to convince myself, within a week of the draft that's going to be cool? Sure. I could get there. I could convince myself, but I'm not targeting a right tackle at all in that draft class, because they have so many other positions that they need actual players at where they haven't already invested so much. I know some people want to talk about building an entire offensive line for the next 5 years or 3 years or whatever. I get it. I get where you're coming from, but look around the NFL. How many teams have high investments in all 5 offensive line positions? That doesn't really exist, right? When you get to the point where you're having to invest heavily in your 5th player along the offensive line, you're going to start losing guys to free agency or whatever it may be. That just doesn't happen very frequently, especially when you're paying a quarterback. And oh, by the way, it's a pass first team. At some point, someone's got to catch the ball, invest there instead. You got to get stops at some point in time, invest there instead. So I'm with you. I was just curious if you were going to make a case for an early drafted right tackle or not.
It's just hard to find a path for that to happen, because you're going to have, I think you would have to feel good about the Chiefs at wide receiver, and you'd have to feel good about the Chiefs at edge to do that. And I just trying to find the paths for that to make sense without the Chiefs addressing safety and running back and all. It's hard to find the route that Max Ihenacho makes sense. And because I mean, are you okay? So let's say it's Tyquan Thornton is your receiver signee, Brian Cook's your safety signee, Etienne is your running back signee. You grabbed AJ Epinesa on a 1-year deal at the edge. I feel like that's kind of cornering into you need receiver and defensive line to be your first 2 picks. And so it's just,
Yeah.
there's just not a ton of great free agent solutions at all those positions anyway. So I have a hard time finding the path to the Chiefs being able to do that. Kind of feels like pretty likely it's receiver and edge with the first 2 picks of this draft. Like
Hope so.
Yeah, you hope so. I don't think the Chiefs could sign, or I don't think the Chiefs could draft. Okay, great news. The Chiefs get Bain at 9. And then at pick 40, are you going to just skip out on the wide receiver class to draft Ian Archer and then hope you're getting, you're not going to get an impact player at 74 at the receiver spot. I don't know if you're going to get one that you're like banking on being a day one contributor. You're not sure what you're getting out of Jacoby Lane.
I have a hard time buying into that. I have a hard time buying into that process there, right? I do. As much rumors have come out about the Chiefs in the offensive tackle position, I don't, again, I'm not buying any of the left tackle stuff yet, but there's been enough smoke that the Chiefs are looking at offensive tackles. There's enough stuff coming from national media people who do their work based on what they hear that are putting tackles into the Chiefs like orbit and stuff like that I just wonder if they really aren't sitting there going, oh, nope, let's just keep protecting Mahomes and he'll make the receivers work and we'll figure out the run game and Spagnuolo will figure out that for the back of my mind, it's going, there's been a little too much offensive tackle smoke for a team that theoretically was fixing the offensive tackle position just last year. We went into last year after the draft and said, oh, wow, the Chiefs went from like an offensive line problem to they're in a really good spot right now. Now they used all of those offensive linemen we felt good about and then some, but like they kind of did everything they could to solve the issue last year. You got to play with the cards you have at some point in time. That's just where that's where it comes back to me. For me, it's just, there's a little too much smoke. Now, how much of that is people that tuned in to watch the few Chiefs games where Josh Simmons didn't play and kind of out of sight, out of mind for his availability and making that connection? How many of that is people that went and saw, oh, Jawan Taylor might get cut. They don't have a right tackle now because Jalen Moore's a left tackle. And again, they don't know who's going. Maybe there is some, we're not locked into the Chiefs aspect going on to the offensive tackle smoke. It's just more than I anticipated seeing at this point in time.
Yeah, but I think the other thing is like, okay, the only thing that would make a ton of sense, like I don't think the Chiefs are going to pay Jalen Moore $19 million to be a backup tackle. I don't think that is going to be the case. So I do feel like one of Jalen Moore and Jawan Taylor is gone. It feels like at least one of those is gone. Here's my question to you. Why would the Chiefs, and I'm not asking it because I think you know it doesn't make sense, but it's adding another layer to the logic on this. If the Chiefs are in the market for Rasheed Walker, then I would have, that makes me feel like, are both Jawan and Jalen Moore gone? That's $19 million, $18.5 million in dead cap to blow up your tackle room and bench your first round tackle or move your first round tackle to right tackle. I don't understand how you get I don't understand how you get there. I don't know how you get to Rasheed Walker.
No.
And I don't want to.
I don't get that one.
And it sounds dumb to even speculate because, like, it would. I honestly think, because we've talked about this before, it would have to be something's up with Simmons, and I don't want to even get into that too far. But like, that's really the only way it makes sense is like something's up with Simmons and he's not playing or something like that. And I don't think that's the case. Nothing makes sense with all of this tackle conversation, and that's I think what's so unnerving and unsettling a little bit about it too is like, why does there seem to be so much of it? And it could be as simple as surface level. Well, they're cutting Jawan Taylor without knowing that they have their contingency plan in there already, ready to roll, and his name is Jalen Moore. I don't know, but I think we'll start getting some answers here sooner rather than later, and like the free agency will set the course. If they go out and spend big money on a tackle, then like I'm scared for everything. I think they'll be addressing a lot more other positions of need than that, but we'll find out about 2 weeks. Well, less than a week and A week and 5 days legal tamping
Week and a half.
begins in, about.
Because they're certainly not doing it now in Indianapolis.
No. It starts at 12 o'clock on Monday, and about 12:02, the Travis Etienne will have agreed to be the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, is what it feels like.
Hopefully.
We'll see. Getting closer. That is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Oh, please no right tackle.